So welcome to our next True Business Stories podcast, and we're very pleased to be sitting out here at Federal Mills with Sarah Thomas from SJ Personnel. So welcome, Sarah.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Bill.
So as part of our True Business Stories, we've been trying to mix up the different businesses, and this is our first HR or employment or human resources. We'll come to that in more detail. And we're looking forward to learning about your journey. So let's begin. Where did it start?
Okay, so I started in Geelong, born in Adelaide. So, started in Australia, born in Adelaide, family from the UK. So came over and started in Adelaide, then moved through Geelong. So I've been in Geelong most of my primary school, went to Fines Park Primary School, then moved on to Geelong College, which I finished off there, which was a great education, and then moved on to a gap year, actually. I then took a year off and went to the UK to actually explore rowing. Was one of my big things. I was a massive rower, so that was something that I wanted to go to the UK and follow that bit of my dream, and then came back and had to go to uni. I went to Melbourne Uni and lived on res at St Hilda's for a few years. Studied at RMIT, studied marketing, and then after that moved my way back down to Geelong. So most of my life has been in Geelong. Just did a lot of my study up in Melbourne. So
Very good, very good. And so what led you into that? So what was your first job? Who was your first employer?
I actually worked at Empire Grill, which is still
still
my favourite restaurant in Geelong. So I worked there for 4 years, from during school, on weekends, at nights. And then when I actually went to Melbourne, I actually drove down a lot and did a lot of their functions and things. So I still absolutely love Empire Grill to today. So yeah, it was one of my first jobs, which was great for me. So.
And after you left uni, where did you go to?
I actually went to Cadbury Schweppes at the time, is what it was at the time. So I did 12 months. I was 12 months there, and I went into a marketing role, so a market research role, looking at all the stats of how consumers purchase products and all about shopping trolleys and demographic groups and things like that. So that's where I started my career, because marketing was where I had intended to go down, and that was my passion. So I did definitely start my career out down that side of things.
But it was the people side, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, that it changed. Yes.
Well, Sarah, just that's some similarities here, Mark. You originally came from England and went to India, lived there with your family, and found your way out here. And Sarah Jane, you did that just out of interest. Rowing, which is one of my favourite topics. In fact, I row every day on a concept tour, and I row 10 kilometres a day. That's my current challenge. But did you ever row at Henley, for instance, or any of those areas?
I went to Henley, and watched rowers there, but I didn't actually row there. I did try out for the Nationals. I rowed for RMIT and started trying out, but the commitment with doing university and getting a job, it got to the point that I think I knew I was never good enough to make it anywhere, so I think I had to make that choice.
Every schoolgirl, if they've got a chance, should do rowing. It's the ultimate team sport, and my daughter has done a lot of it, and I've got a niece that, through rowing in Melbourne, won a 4-year fully paid scholarship to the University of Michigan, all through rowing.
Wow.
But it's the ultimate, fabulous sport for young ladies in particular.
Full on though,
it's a commitment.
Big commitment. I was doing, every lunchtime at school, I was doing circuits in the gym, running, before school, after school, it was. But then it kept me out of trouble. Which,
Do you still row?
No. I still go to the gym and do a lot of exercise. I think once you've been quite fit in your junior age, you kind of follow that through. I think you lose it for a bit. I think when I was at uni.
At Cadbury, just take me back there a bit. Which was it, chocolates or drinks?
It was actually Natural Confectionery Companies, the bit which they own that. So that was the area that was my department that I had to work on. So and they were new at that time. So I was looking at how they were incorporating that. Obviously, it was a while ago now. So how they incorporated that to the shelf, and what buyer would buy that, and how much shelf space. And
I've spent some time in St Kilda Road head office.
Oh, there you go.
In my dark past.
Past.
That's right. Now, SJ Personnel is actually it's a family business.
It is
because your dad's in the business.
Yes.
You want to tell us a bit of how all that came about?
Yeah. Well, I fell into. Funny enough, when I was at Cadbury, I went to go for a job at. I went to a recruitment agency. I went to Michael Page in Melbourne to go for a job for another marketing role. And when I went in there, they said to me, actually, would you be interested in doing recruitment? And I didn't even know what recruitment was. I was like, what is recruitment? So I never really knew much about it. And then I went down, I think it was 6 interviews and tests and things to get into Michael Page. And then I decided to change careers and go into recruitment. So it was wasn't something I'd ever looked at, ever considered. I really enjoyed it when I was there. Then I've never looked back. So I stayed at recruitment in Melbourne at Michael Page. I moved my way up to a senior role there, and then came to be HR manager at the Adventure Park in Geelong. So that was great. And then moved in to help open up the Hayes recruitment in the Geelong when they moved to Geelong. So worked on that. And then I got married and actually had my first son. So I had my son in 2011. And with that, I was trying to work out recruitment. It takes up a lot of hours, a lot of late nights. So I was thinking to go back to work with children was going to be difficult. So my father and I decided, let's start a business in the Geelong community around recruitment and HR that will actually work into a lifestyle with my family and his lifestyle with wanting to look at retirement soon. So we came up with a concept, started SJ Personnel, which is Sarah Jane Personnel, and nearly 12 years ago now we started the business.
And how are you balancing your family life with your work life?
Well, I've got 3 children now, so luckily all 3 are at school, which they're just at Cardinia International College, which is 5 minutes from the office here at Federal Mills.
Yep.
So it's convenient, and we live in Batesford, so it's all close. So I do school drop off and pick up every day, and so I do school hours when I'm face-to-face, but then after hours I'll do from work, like from home at night when the kids go to bed and all those kind of things. But there's events on, I've got a massive support network that if I need to do after hours, breakfast, chamber events, all those different things, I've got family or my husband who will jump in and have the children.
So who's the boss, your dad or you?
Well, I think
He's not here, by the way.
He's not here. So he's the look. His name's Adam. Adam's amazing, but he's an accountant by trade. He's always been a CEO and those kind of things in the Geelong community. He ran Give Where You Live, so for a long time as well. So he's really great with the numbers side of things and keeps me on track. So I'm more out there spending and doing the marketing for the business, and he pretty much keeps me on track and tells me to rein it in if I'm going out there a bit too much. So it's quite a good balance because we're very different people. So I think we do work quite well together.
And do you regularly catch up and discuss the business and do you have a strategy session and business plans? And
Yep. So every Monday we do a team meeting, which we actually involve the other staff members as well. So we come to the Federal Mills, go get a coffee, we sit down and we talk about what we're doing, where we're going, any issues we've had that week. He's a great mentor to Claudia, who's one of our younger staff members. So she, I think, really wants to learn from him and develop from him. So he's keeping a very strong mentor role with her in the business, which gives me more time to work on the business and less on that management side with her, which has kind of worked out quite well.
That's fantastic.
Well, let's just go back then and talk about SJ Personnel as a business. So describe to our listeners, what does SJ Personnel actually do?
Yeah.
And are you a specialist in any area? So, give us an overview of SJ Personnel.
Yeah, okay. So we specialise in small to medium organisations, mainly the Geelong region. Our what we do is we do recruitment from a permanent point of view, so find permanent staff employment. We do labour hire, so we are a labour hire organisation, and we put labour hire staff on with the City Grey Geelong being one of our big contracts, and we've got the State Victorian government contracts as well, so we put a lot of their temp and labour hire on. We also do HR, so an organisation that doesn't have their own internal HR manager, they'll outsource to us. So a lot of our clients will pay a monthly retainer and they can ring us or email us at any stage if there's any issues on contracts or staff queries or staff not doing the right thing, which happens regularly. So we have those phone calls all the time. So that kind of came about. And we also do career advice resumes as a bit of a side thing as well. We get that asked for quite a lot. So we do have anything to do with staff really. We cover all avenues, which means it's got a lot of flexibility to help your small and medium clients, and then obviously the government clients we've got. So our first client we ever got actually is still our biggest client, which is E&S Trading. So we got them in the Geelong, that was our first client we ever got in Geelong nearly 12 years ago, and then they've now moved us to do all their stores. They've got 12 stores now and a head office. and all their drivers. And so we've probably been doing around 40 roles a year with them since the day we started 12 years ago.
And I noticed on your Facebook site they're always looking for people too.
Yeah, well, since COVID, they've just expanded and grown, and a great business they've got set up there. So we've been aligned with them for a very long time, almost like an internal recruiter for them. So they've really helped us develop and grow, and they're still with us today, which I think gives a bit of testimonial of that relationships.
Well, as I move around consulting to family-owned companies, it always amazes me the number of them that think they can do it all themselves and just put an ad on Seek. And I offer the advice, that not always taken, of course, to go and use a professional.
Yeah.
Because it saves so much trouble. You know that the person is screened correctly, that's the other issue, but a greater chance of retaining that person if it's done properly in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as I say, it's a service that I guess private business owners don't fully appreciate the benefits of using a consulting company like you, who understand it. You know, and particularly in the area of HR, and in the way that in Victoria, the law keeps changing. The legislation keeps changing all the time, and how do you keep on top of that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so we need to, we're obviously a part of bodies, so that we follow that, look up on the website, find out what's going on. So yeah, every query we get come through, like we don't know every law back to front and every award back to front. So when a client does come through to us, naturally we do that research, we interpret what the data is, and then we come back with the appropriate advice which will work for their industry. So it's just a matter, we know where to find that resource, how to find it, register with a few bodies that we've got support. So then we obviously then pass it on to the client.
Well, just taking your background and your transition, and you described to us before about where education and moving around. You've got 3 children, boys, girls?
2 boys and a girl.
Right. So what do you think the opportunities are for them in the future, and what would you advise any of our listeners who have got children at school at the moment, how to guide them in career advice? Yeah,
I just think obviously finishing school is an absolute
good start.
Yes, this is a good start. I know there's lots of opportunities now you can leave, and I know there's trades and those things which are amazing, and my husband's an electrician, so I'm absolutely all for trade. But I do think even if you're going to go down the trade path, at least just get year 12 done. Finish your schooling. I think it just teaches you and gives you so many boundaries going forward, and then from there you can find out where you want to go. But even just getting in the workforce as early as possible. So I think 14 and 7 months you can officially get a job now. So I just always say they should start working straight away, even when they're at school. Go work at Safeway, McDonald's, somewhere like that, even just one day a week. Start to learn, understand how tax works and how money works and how hard it is to earn and the value of it and superannuation. Then they'll actually appreciate probably what mum and dad do in the home as well, how hard it is to earn and what you need to do. And so I think teaching children those morals and boundaries is really important, and that's what we're trying to do for our children. And also you don't really need to know. I think people are so worried when they finish year 12, what am I going to do? They're saying now you'll change your career so many more times than older generations, where you'd get a job at Ford and stay there for 30, 40 years. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. So people are changing careers.
Well, I read recently that the average stay, say for somebody in there between 20 and 30, around that age group, is 2 years.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And I've heard that people anywhere from 7 to 14 career changes.
Yep.
We've been reading the same book, I think.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think it's out there everywhere. Yeah, which you wouldn't have heard of that. So generally, if you look at the older generations, people, like I'm just thinking Ford of Geelong, Ford, because obviously it's a long time standing here, people would be there 30, 40. Once you got a job, you kind of stay there to retirement. Whereas the generation now have no way. They're thinking, what's the next best thing? So technology's changed. There's always a next new thing that's coming. So I think with children these days finishing year 12, just get education behind you, but you don't have to know what you're going to do, because you're probably going to change so often anyway. But I think it's more about the morals you bring into that workforce. So, being at work, being ethical at work, having a great culture at work, turning up on time, being reliable, keeping to your word. If you can do that, then you can kind of adapt that to any role. So I think that's more important, doing that with your children, than talking about what do you want to do when you're older.
Yeah, that's great advice, isn't it, Mark? Just a quick follow on talking about culture. Sarah, you and I have been judges on the Geelong Business Awards recently, and we've not together, we've gone to separate businesses as judges. The one thing that I saw that is a really pertinent fact about people who are finalists is that most of them didn't lose any people during COVID. They actually went out of their way to keep them on, and that they have had very little staff turnover through that period. And that comes, I believe, back to culture. And
Yeah,
what were
absolutely.
your did you get similar observations?
Yeah, absolutely. And culture's different to everybody.
Yeah.
So, like some people, like obviously some people who, women in the workforce, naturally having flexibility in the workforce is really amazing, and they can work from home some days a week with their children, which is amazing. They can do school pick-up, drop-off. I think that's becoming so much more acceptable now, whereas a few years back, it was just 9 to 5 in the office. I just don't think we had the flexibility. So I think that culture is amazing. We're actually looking at it's not just money that people want. I know ultimately everyone wants a good income, but there's so many other factors of how they're treated when they come to work. Are they valued? Can they have a laugh at work? Do people actually invest in them, ask how their day is, ask how their night is, actually care for them, make them feel like it's a family and treat them well? Whereas I hear so many candidates we place, they'll go into an organisation, people don't even say good morning to them, and they just sit there all day, and it's horrible. Like,
We've all been there.
yeah,
Yeah.
No one talks, and they're just like, I know we're there to do a job, but you still spend a lot of time at work, and you're still a human being. You still want to be valued and asked how you're going and checking in, like, are you doing all right? Everyone is going to have a hard patch at work. Like, life's difficult for everybody in one way or another. So I think checking in on people and actually generally caring. Are you doing all right? Do you want to go home early today? Do you want to bring your dog to work to make you feel better? Like, just having that flexibility and understanding that we're all human, whereas I think previously we didn't have that.
It's interesting. I have a philosophy of management by wandering about, I used to call it,
Yep.
which was every day walking wherever I was working to see everybody, just for the quick walk around. Good morning, how are you?
Yeah.
How did the party go on the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how's your wife getting on? How's your daughter getting on? Just that quick conversation
Yeah.
made a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for a CEO at Target who, same philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
He would suddenly appear next to people at their workstations, and it was this management by wandering about, but it's having a vested interest in people.
Yeah, and you value them, and that's what people want, to feel valued. Like,
And one of his tricks that he did, which it's again a very simple thing, he'd get an ice cream truck to turn up, and then he'd say, announce over the PA at Target head office, ice cream's for free today, and there'd be this queue.
yeah.
It cost him virtually nothing,
Yeah.
but everybody loved it. So
Oh, amazing.
it's interesting. Those sort of things aren't everywhere. I don't know why people don't understand. It's the simple things that people embrace more.
Yeah, yeah.
So Sarah, where do you see the people that you're employing at the moment and the jobs you're employing for? Do you see that changing? What is the push now in terms of jobs that are needed?
Yeah, look, it's changed since day one. It's constantly changing and adapting, and there's some industries that some roles are still very consistent. So, healthcare and those things, people need to be at work and doing their role. Whereas other industries are changing a lot, because you obviously can now hire people offshore to do different things like marketing and social media. A lot of that seems to be PAs. So there is a lot of change over time. But it's adapting to that. So the market is still pretty tough, I must admit, trying to find staff, which everyone's well aware of. There's a massive shortage of staff everywhere, and definitely in the Geelong region. And it's coming to the point that everyone's just pinching people from other firms and then backfilling, and that's kind of where it's sitting at the moment, because it's the only way that we can, because there's actually not a big enough pool to find people. So it's we're trying to upskill, we're trying to get a lot more grads in and really give them more opportunities than they would have had previously. So we're trying to look outside the box and do those things, get a lot more women are returning to the workforce quicker than they would have previously, because we can do flexible working arrangements. They can do school pick-up and drop-offs, which previously that was probably frowned upon in years back. Working from home, so hybrid has become massive. So people are happy, if they're offered to work at home 1 or 2 days a week, that's quite appealing. Then driving, especially if they're in Melbourne, driving up and down the highway every day. So I think the flexibility has been amazing. But now a lot of companies are offering similar flexibility. It's getting harder to
There's
pull them in.
no point of difference.
Yes, which is coming. So now and then I think the salaries are definitely going up. So we're noticing that, which is making a lot of smaller businesses struggle. So some of your big businesses can handle those salary requirements. But I am finding your small to medium companies in Geelong are missing out a lot of staff because they just don't have the spend. Or if they do pay someone over what they generally would be worth, then obviously the cost of that product goes up, which then affects everybody as well. So
yeah, but isn't there also a bit of a lesson there for business owners in that if somebody leaves because they've been offered more money, and I've got some live examples in my own family where if the culture's right and everything else is right, regardless of the amount of money they've been offered to move, they won't move because they love it where they are.
Yeah.
It's not always about the money. But unfortunately, some of the money being thrown around and the sign-on bonuses are out of all proportion. That's what's happening.
Well, if people don't say money, but then I suppose interest rates are going up, cost of living's going up, so they may be loving where they are. They may think the culture is going to be just as great somewhere else. So people sometimes, don't know. You get sold when you go to an interview and you get told how amazing it is. Sometimes you don't realise to actually get in there the grass wasn't greener and the extra money wasn't worth it. But if you do get thrown a fair bit of money in front of you, you naturally any human.
Tempting. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Tell me, why Geelong? What's so good about living, working, and being in Geelong and running a business in Geelong?
I absolutely love Geelong, so I'll never leave Geelong. Well, hopefully I'll never leave Geelong. So I just love the community. So everyone. The loyalty that you build with people, you help everyone out, everyone helps each other out. I think we all give back to the community. I think everyone's out we particularly try and help the region in every way we can, hence being a part of the Business Awards. We do a lot of pro bono work and help out with recruitment and HR with a lot of clients in the community sector to help the region. So I just think it's such a great place. Got everything to offer. There's so many great families and support networks around, great facilities. There's so much growth coming here. Like Geelong is just booming and it's going to continue to boom with, a lot of the businesses coming to Geelong region. Since COVID, everyone seems to want to come down here as well. We've got the beaches and we've got Melbourne an hour up the road, but then also the traffic's here's much better. The schooling is fantastic. So I just think the opportunities for families and children and the lifestyle is what's incredible here, and that's something that really appeals to me.
Geelong is Victoria's second biggest city and most successful
right.
city, and regardless of what anyone in Melbourne thinks listening to this, is we're not a suburb of Melbourne. That's the other big issue.
So, Sarah, lots of businesses that I do a bit of mentoring with, HR is just seen as something we can do ourselves, and Bill touched on this earlier, and that's when they get into trouble. So what sort of services can you offer, as you talked about being like the HR person for the business? How small do you go to, or how do you do that? And
no, people do think they can do it. I find some of our clients come to us when they've got usually an issue, so they'll get like a fair work claim or something will come through and it's almost too late. So we come on board once the damage is kind of being done, so we're trying to help them through that. So we do say a lot of clients, we try and pre-set things up so the damage doesn't happen. So setting up process and procedures in that organisation and policies that everyone can abide by, making sure the contracts are correct from day one and everything's in them just in case. So it's just covering everything off, and naturally things are going to occur. We're dealing with human beings, so it's not black and white by any means. It's definitely a grey area, but we try, and our role is try and set every single thing up to ensure a great environment for the employee and employer as much as possible going forward. So we work with everyone. We had a startup the other day who was hiring their first staff member and they had never put a contract together. So they rang and just said, we literally just don't even know how to do a contract and what do you need to put in there. So we'll mentor them through that. We'll create the contract for them. We'll put everything in place up to we do HR for a lot of bigger organisations where we'll go in actually. Some of them we do 1 day a week on site. So we actually sit there and be their full in-house HR. That will do a lot of the process improvement, help with mentoring staff members, do all their reviews. So it's actually being their on-site assistance in every possible way. So it's something that's absolutely needed, especially these days with mental health in the workforce as well, which is people get quite confused of what's allowed, what's not allowed. So I think having someone you can call on and just getting that advice is really handy so you don't get caught out later down the track.
Fantastic. And what do you do to get your head in the right space? What's your escape?
I do Pilates and yoga most days. So alarms on at 5:15 every morning, and I go to Upstate actually, which is one of our clients. We've done a bit of work for them.
Boy, are they doing well?
They are doing very well.
Yes.
So now they've partnershiped with Cotton On. So
yes, very good business there.
Yeah, so they're going, I think there's 5 new Upstates coming now since Cotton On's partnered with them. So they're going to go massive now, which is amazing. So I've been a part of that journey since Upstate started when they had their first little one. And I've been, but that to me, it's my outlet. So I go an hour every day and it's in a hot room and you just seem to, reset and rethink about things and get on with your day. So,
Fantastic.
They've been incredible.
And besides your father, do you have a mentor?
I don't necessarily have a mentor. I do a lot I work very closely with a lot of other business owners. Not necessarily a mentor, but we work closely and share ideas and share situations that we're going through and try and help each other through those. We're very involved with different events like the Chambers and those kind of things. They offer a lot of podcasts. They offer a lot of log on to Zooms and different things on different topics that are of interest. So if there's something I'm struggling with, I'll jump on a podcast, or I'll go to a function and learn about that. But I don't necessarily have a mentor that.
No, but you've got, and I know the word network can mean many things, but Mark and I have, for the last 13 years, have had breakfast with a group of company directors for once a month for the last 13 years, and the stuff we have shared, both business, it was originally set up because we wanted to improve our performance as board members. Mm-hmm. But now, boys, it's become a lot more personal than that.
It's a big mentoring session as such.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's very good. So, Sarah, if people want to get in touch with you, how's the best way?
Yep, so we are phone, email, website, social media, we're across all avenues.
And
so
what's the website
is?
Just www.sjpersonnel.com.au.
Fantastic. So, Sarah, it's been a privilege meeting you today. Great business. We've heard lots of you, and I've seen you around a lot, so I'm really pleased to learn a little bit more about where you're going. Yeah. Good luck in the future. And
yes, Sarah, I have the same pleasure of interviewing you today, and our interviews are always done on the basis that anyone listening to who's a business owner, big or small, will actually learn something from it and glean some new information. And hopefully now, instead of pressing the button and going to Seek, they've got an alternative in SJ Personnel. So thank you, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. Thanks, Mark.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast, brought to you by Barwon Southwest Mentors. If you'd like to know more about how we can help your business, look at smeadvisory.com.au for contact details.